Good evening, and a very warm welcome to you this evening on the Open Door webinar show. Now, you might have noticed there's a little bit of a difference this evening. Two things, and the eagle-eyed amongst you will have spotted that I'm on my own this evening. No, Mr. Ian Child. That means, I can do what I want. I can say what I want. Obviously, we'll take a bit of a vote on whether we need Ian back or not in a minute, and we'll get a show of hands to see what you think of that. So, yeah, I'm flying solo this evening. No, Mr. Ian Child. Hey, what a great opportunity. And the second thing, you might have noticed that backdrop. 50. Not me. I'm not 50. Well, I am 50. I'm a bit older than 50. It's the 50th Open Door show. That's unbelievable, isn't it? We've done 50 of these. We did the support sessions last year. We brought these support sessions in right in the early days of the pandemic when people were wanting support. They were struggling. What do I do? And we started support sessions, and then we morphed into Open Door. Obviously, we got suggestions from you guys of what we should call it, and we've now done 50 shows. So I thought I'd put some balloons up, or they're that side, aren't they? This side. Where's the balloons? I put balloons up, and obviously we've got a 50th sign on there just to celebrate our 50th Open Door show. And just to celebrate, I'm doing it solo. So that can't be bad, can it? That can't be bad. Just in case this is your first time, then welcome. My name is Richie Clapson. I'm normally here with Ian Child, but he's not here this evening. And what are we going to do? Well, this is 45 minutes where we're going to take a deep dive into the world of small-scale property development. Often we cover the news. I'm not going to do that tonight because it's a 50th show, and I've been going to rabbit on about that. And there's a little giveaway I've got in a minute, because I always like a bit of a giveaway if it's a celebratory show. But normally we give an update on the news, and we bring guests on, and we do have a guest this evening, so hopefully they're going to join us very shortly. Above all, we're going to have a bit of fun. It's about having fun. We will get you away by just after 7:45, so you can go and enjoy the rest of your evening. And it is a question and answer show. So, of course, if you don't put any questions in the chat box for the guests, we don't really have a show. And you're just going to listen to me rabbiting on, which, okay, is probably all right, but not really worth it. Not really worth it, I wouldn't think. So, what are we going to be doing this evening? Well, we are going to have on Will Lucey from Luc Capital. Some people may know Will Lucey, some may not. I'll give him a proper introduction in a minute. So first of all, let's just see who's on. Let's see if we've got a bit of the regular crowd and a few people that perhaps we haven't seen before. Who's on? Let's have a look. Pascal's on. Simon's on. Hello, Simon. I've just recognised your surname. I haven't seen you for some time. I trust you well, my friend. Joanna's on. Raymond's on. Christian's on. Rory's on. Hello, Rory. Mark, Mary-Louise, Thomas, Dan, Michelle. Paul's on. Hello, Paul. Good evening to you. Well, I mean, they're all coming on. James is on. Teresa's on. Raj is on. Stephen's on. Liam's on. Adam's on. Harvey's on. And who's just joining us? Name just about to come up. People are joining now. They're joining late. Unbelievable, isn't it? The show's actually started. But welcome to all of you. Welcome to all of you. Give me a quick show of hands. Let me know you can see and hear us. Can you see and hear us? Just give a show of hands. Yes, we can. Good. Excellent. Hello and congratulations on the 50th, says Raymond. Thank you. Hello, says Rory. Good evening, says Dan. Paul says, a speaker, oh joy. You're so sarcastic, Paul. We often have speakers on. Next week, though, Paul, just for you, it's just Ian and I. I'm going to let him back. Congratulations on the 50th. Ian finally decided to ditch you. What? Richard, look what you've done. What do you mean, ditch me? Missing you already, Ian? Oh, Raj, come on. Right, I tell you what, let's settle this once and for all. Who thinks this is going to be a much better show without Ian? Okay, so put your hand up if you think it's a much better show without Ian. Oh my word, all the hands have gone up. This is unbelievable. Every single hand is up. I know this is recorded. Ian, when you listen to the recording, every single hand has gone up. Let me drop all the hands, all of the hands. And let me just ask this question. Who would rather Ian come back next week? Put your hand up if you'd like Ian to come back next week. Not one single hand. Oh, one. Oh yeah, Roma and Richard have put their hand up. That's all. That's just one. Not one other hand has gone up. That is unbelievable, guys. Well, look, I do appreciate that, and I know exactly what you're thinking. So anyway, look, it's the 50th show. Who'd like one of these mugs? Who out there is a CEO? This is a brand new one, by the way. Look, it's completely clean inside. It's never been used. This says, keep calm. You're a property CEO. I thought, just for a bit of fun, I thought of this just before I started the show. Why don't I give away some mugs just to celebrate? So the first 10 people to send an email to support@propertyceo.co.uk and mark the email, I claim my free mug. Send an email in, put your name and address, and the team will send you a free mug for the first 10. I'll have to ring them in the morning because they won't know what the hell's going on. claim my free mug. But if you want a free mug which says keep calm, I'm a property CEO, then the first 10, put your name and address, I'll send you a mug. Be a brand new one, it won't be used, brand new, in a box, all wrapped up. Gift from me. So you don't get gifts when Ian's on, do you? Anyway, let's I'd like one, says Teresa. Well, you could like one, Teresa, but you've got to put the email in, and you've got to be one of the first people to get it. Okay? You're gonna be the first. Yoko says I'm mean to Ian. Oh, I don't think so. Anyway, look. Tonight's show, we have got Will Lucey on from Luc Capital. Will is terrific. Will works with us here. He works with all of our students, directly works with our students to help them get finance. He is a terrific guy. He is one of those people that I love that goes out of his way in terms of customer service. He will really help people. So let's see if Will is available to come on the show. Will, are you there? Can you hear me?
I am indeed. Good evening.
Excellent. Will, do you want to put your camera on for me, please, my friend? Hey, how are you?
Good evening. Fantastic. How are you?
Yeah, very good, very good. Hands up if you can see and hear Will, please. If you can see and hear Will. Excellent. They can all see and hear you. Will, welcome to the show once again. You've been back a few times. It's always great to have you back. We always get lots of questions. How are you?
Well, I am fantastic, thank you. And it is great to be here. So thanks for having me again. And congratulations on the 50.
Oh, yeah, brilliant, isn't it? I know a lot of people thought it was me, but most of them know I'm still in my early 40s. So, you know, I knew they wouldn't get that confused.
Can't be any older than that, can't be.
And Will, come on, be honest. Let me just ask you this. Do you think it's better without Ian or with Ian?
Look, I think it's clear now that it's questionable whether we need Ian, isn't it? It was you know, absolutely all out, hands up.
I couldn't believe it, Will. I could not believe it. I mean, I could have pretended it wasn't like that, but it was hands up all round.
And we would have done it if he was here. If he was here, we still would have done it, of course, you know.
Well, that's it. It's not just because he's not here.
Yeah.
Anyway, Will, it's great to have you on the show. Let's get going with some questions in a minute. But before we do that, could you just introduce yourself, who you are? Because a lot of people think, well, it's Will Lucey, what's he about, where you're from? And because we're going to be talking about finance, I'm sure you've probably got a few things to read out before you give any advice of any sort, apart from the advice you've already given that the show's better without Mr. Child. So over to you, Will.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Good evening, everybody. It's actually a pleasure to be here. I'm going to hopefully provide you with, you know, and Richie, of course, provide you a bit of value tonight, a few tips, a bit of information that hopefully will help you and wherever you are in your kind of property journey. Okay, so a small bit about me. Yes, I'm Will Lucey. My firm is called Luc Capital. I am an ex-accountant and turned property or commercial property finance professional, I like to say. We absolutely love what we do here. Okay, I worked for developers before in various accounting roles, finance director roles, all different shapes and sizes as a developer, and so therefore I was involved firsthand in all sorts of shapes and sizes of deals too, and developments and properties. And of course, managing finance for fair-sized firms is quite tricky, so funding is absolutely at the forefront there. So I ended up doing more funding than I did accountancy by the end, and I loved it. So what did I do? I went to do it myself because I thought I could do a great job of it, and that was 4 years ago. So here I am now, and you know, Richie is quite right. I've got a couple of things to say before we start. So if you've come across me or my firm, or indeed my business partner Rihanna, you'll know that we are red hot when it comes to taking compliance seriously. Okay, so therefore, before I begin, and for the purposes of actually having an open conversation that's helpful about a range of finance and property topics, okay, please kindly note the following about my firm. We are a broker, not a lender. We do not provide services or advice in any way related to title matters, legal, accounting, or tax matters, okay? The suitability of whether you should own a property or not, okay? SIC codes, or in any way related to pension-led funding, okay? Always seek advice from industry experts on those matters. Everything I discuss in this open door session relates to finance for business and is aimed at limited company borrowers, okay? So points and opinions put forward here, educational purposes, they're not personalized advice.
I love it. And can I just say that any advice I give or anything I say about anything, you can't take it as read. I mean, it's just a bit of fun. So, you know, go and get some proper advice. Good stuff. Well, I'm really pleased you do the compliance thing. You know, guys, this is a webinar show. It is a bit of fun. We do try and give a bit of advice. But if you want, you know, you're going to get some questions answered tonight. We're going to rattle through as many as we can. Will, I know, would do his best, and he'll do some terrific answers. But please, don't rush off and do something. If you're serious about this, Will give you some contact details. Well, hopefully he will at the end. Then please contact him directly and have a proper conversation so you get a proper answer, not a quick snapshot. This is about giving you some information, overall information, as well as entertaining you for the evening. Right, Will, you ready for some questions?
Ready to rock?
Okay, let's go for it, my friend. So Michelle's put a question in. Michelle is on. This is a question that Michelle put in the week. And by the way, guys, you're always welcome to put your questions in before, and we will pick them up. Michelle's question says, I called a commercial financier and I wanted to dig deep. He said, come back when I have found a property to look at. I feel this is too late. I need to have some confidence in my financial options before I approach an agent with a serious offer. It seems to me it's tricky to know what sequence is needed from getting my house in order. I've produced my wealth statement to investigating options, deals, putting in a serious deal. Any tips? So I think the tip is here. She's got this situation, Michelle, where she's approached someone and he said, go away, come back when you've got a deal. But I don't want to look for a deal because I want to know what deal I can look for. What's your thoughts on that for Michelle?
Sure, this is actually a good point. And we talk about this a lot with the students because really you don't want to leave it until right at the last minute anyway. Anyone who's going into property development, and particularly if it's new to them, they're going to want to have that conversation early on with a broker or a commercial broker to understand how the finance sort of process works, what they're going to need to provide, and rather than waiting until you've actually got a deal you're about to offer on, if you're looking at something, there's no reason why, and I always say this, is to come with something that you've considered. You're not necessarily going to go for it, but you've come across something, you've analysed it, you don't think you're necessarily going to go for it, but you're saying, look, let's put it in, and let's go and get some advice, let's go and get some opinions from a few lenders, see what they say. Let's see what they say about you and your background, and maybe give your CV. And from that, you can gain a lot of information early on. And it just gives you that little bit of confidence to say, okay, they didn't like this, or they did like that. They might say that we like the background, we're happy with that. And if that is the case, you probably know that the size of development or the complexity of development you're looking at that point is where you should be. So I'd say, you need some help early on.
I like that. So basically what we're saying is, even if this deal that you might be looking at today is not one you're 100% certain of, if it's reasonably packaged up and it looks like it's a potential goer, even put it in, you'll test the market and you'll get some feedback, not only on the deal, but more importantly, on the individual that's putting it forward as well, to see the appetite of the funders for the individual and indeed that type of deal. Yeah? Absolutely. There you go. Michelle, hopefully that's a good response. So, Michelle, get on with it. Let's get out there. Okay. Barges says, Tanya said that was great advice, by the way. Well done. Thank you, Tanya. Thanks for that. Barge says, can I have a developer mortgage for projects? Well, you can, but not tonight. We're not going to send out any money, Barge. Well, I basically offered free mugs. That's about the best. But he says, how does it work? Do I need to show earnings, etc.? So this is someone here. Barge wants some developer funding. How does it work? Do we need to show earnings? What's your response on that one?
Well, I think we'll start by saying, let's assume that this person is looking for a development finance. This person is looking for, say, some kind of commercial conversion finance. If they are looking for that, then the specific question they've asked is, are they looking at earnings, etc.? And I guess the easiest way of saying it is that the first and foremost, a development lender, is looking at actually, does the deal work? So actually, they work on metrics. And it's not just simple loan to value, it's going to be a loan to gross development value, loan to cost. There's various things they look at, okay, to work out whether they can actually fund the development. Another thing would be whether you're making a decent amount of profit. They want you to make a certain amount of profit before the deal actually can work in their eyes, okay? And so I think it's fair to say what they're looking at is that the deal itself works in the first place, okay? They will obviously be looking to see what team is actually developing this deal, okay? So they'll be looking at you as a developer too, but it's not in the same way as a mortgage on your residential home would be. It's not a multiple of earnings or things like that. It doesn't work in the same manner. Because it's business related and it's for business people, you actually can amplify your borrowings a lot more. And so because it's asset backed and based on adding value, you do not base it on your income. I think that's the simplest answer. Although most development lenders will be looking to say, are you earning something? Are you supporting yourself during the development? I mean, I want to know, you're basically supporting yourself. I think that's fair to say. But I hope that answers the question.
I'm sure it does. So, Barge, it's less about you and it's much more about the deal. Much more about the deal. Okay, Peter's question. Good evening, Peter. Peter says, do I need to have my own money in a deal, or can I do all the investment from my part, i.e. the private investment, from friends and family in loan notes?
Okay, the short answer is yes. Yeah, you can. What we always say is that what lenders do prefer, I mean, they do prefer all the developer, the money coming from the developer themselves. That's their ideal scenario. Now, we all know when we're starting out, that's not always the case, and there even are lots of developers who are very experienced and have big businesses, and they work on a way of having backers as well. So it's a normal thing. I guess from a lender's perspective, if as the amount of money that you're putting in reduces, what can happen is that the pool of lenders you can go to sometimes can be a bit less. That's all. I think that's the main thing you're looking at. If you are putting in approximately 10% of total project cost yourself, then that gives you access to most lenders. Okay, the balance of the funds could come from external investor. Okay, that's the sort of standard position. But you can do a deal with all the money that you need for deposit coming from an external investor. That can happen. There are lenders that will facilitate that. Okay. I quite like to make an extra point on that, which I think is helpful, is that if you do have investors on board, bear in mind that the lender will want to do the same sort of checks on them as they do on you. They'll want to do proof of funds and source of funds and ID them and address check them, all that sort of stuff. Okay, they'll need their own solicitor, so just bear that in mind when you're talking to your investors.
Okay, so Peter, entirely possible, but just think about those checks, those sort of anti-money laundering, know your client type checks that will need to be done. And your investors need to be comfortable with that. You need to talk to your investors that these things are going to happen. Because some investors might say, well, hang on, I don't want all that going on. They're going to need to. I mean, if they're unsure about that, then you're probably going to start questioning where's the money come from, particularly if they offer it to you and use notes and want to meet you at Waterloo Station under the clock at 12 o'clock on a Friday. Okay, Paul's question. Hello, Paul. Paul says, there's several Pauls on. So this is Paul I. So Paul I, but you'll recognize this. He says, what other things advise you need? Okay, what things can you advise that you need to see from someone starting out as a property developer? What the lenders will need to see. So give us some key things, 2 or 3 key things that you would want to see, that lenders would want to see from someone completely new starting out.
Good question. Right, this is really important. Okay, if you want to be someone who goes into property development and comes out and absolutely smashes the finance world and goes in there and gets a really good pack and impresses the lenders, this is what you need to do. You need to provide an appraisal document, okay, or an iPad, as Rich calls it, okay, and an appraisal document is quite detailed, okay. It goes from your gross development value, and it has all of the different costs and all the build broken down into a fair amount of detail. And it has things like SIL, and it has things like S106, and it has connections and abnormals and all sorts of things. So it looks like and appears to the vendor, and of course you have thought about those things, okay? So it looks thorough when you get there, okay? That's number one. That's their mirror image of the project as a whole. It shows the lender that it makes a profit. It shows the lender that you thought about what makes the gross development value up, okay? So if you're saying I'm going to build 5 flats and they're worth £178,000 each, why are they worth that? Have you got some comparable prices? You've done your research, you know your competition in the area. These are the kind of things that separate you, okay, from the rest. So you provide that kind of document. Second document is what's the team you're using? What are their backgrounds, okay? If you're starting out and you haven't yet got the expertise or the experience yet to move on into larger deals and to get a bit of momentum up, you can rely on the strength of your team if you thoroughly research them. In particular, your contractor, they need to be thoroughly researched, and they need to have done similar projects, similar sized projects. How many projects can they handle at once? How many projects have they got on at the moment? These things are really key. If you've got narratives like that, a lender feels more comfortable, okay, in terms of when they're actually assessing this deal, okay. So there are those things. So we've got the appraisal, we've got your team CV, then we've got your CV, okay. We've got things about you, and ideally an asset and liability statement, mainly showing what property you own or don't own, okay. This basically gives a window into your background, okay. Now don't worry about it being a broad CV, just any business related experience you have. In property, put anything down. If you've done an extension on your house, or you've done anything you can put in there, at least it starts the ball rolling. At least you've managed something. Say what the budget was. If you've got before and after photos, even better. But those items, those are the three key items, okay. If you can get those right, you're on the path.
Brilliant. Paul, some first class advice. I hope you've written that down. And by the way, guys, if you didn't write that down, and I see a few people like Jonathan, shame on you, just turned up late, Jonathan. Why are you not here on time? I believe, what are you doing in your life? Come on, you should have been here. But anyone that wants to listen to the replay and replay that back and listen to the questions that Will's answered, it will be up on YouTube probably by tomorrow evening, if not latest Monday. Pop onto YouTube, propertyCEO, and you'll find the replay of all previous shows on there. Thank you, says Paul. So he was pleased with that answer. Okay, let me look at the next question. Let's see, it's just scooped down because they're coming in quite thick and fast. Joanna says, hi, looking forward to tonight. Well, me too. So was Will, I think. Could you give a brief outline of how you would remunerate a JV partner? What sort of profit split would you give away if you are also paying them a good rate of interest on their capital? Let me pick that one up. It's not really a Will question, but this is, Joanna, how do you want to get in bed with a JV partner? Well, really, my first comment to you is don't get in bed with a JV partner. I don't mean literally, but you don't have a JV partner if you don't have to. If you're going to pay someone a return on loan notes, you're going to give them a rate of return on their capital, 8 to 10%. That should be enough for most investors. You don't have to have them as a JV partner. Avoid it if you can. Otherwise, you've got someone else who's got control. And Will tell you as well, if you're going to get lending, they'll be joint and several liable. You've got all sorts of issues that go on there. If you have to have them as a JV partner, why are you paying them a return? Why don't you just give them a profit share instead? But of course, they've got to be a sophisticated investor, not a non-sophisticated. There's a lot more around that, Joanne, than a quick answer this evening, but I would hopefully just give you a bit of guidance there. Try and avoid a JV partner. If you've just got loan notes, just work on that basis. That might be better. Okay, Tanya says, I'm a new property business. That's what Tanya says. Well, she says, I put £15,000 to start the business. When lenders are reviewing my development project and they are going through the checks, what if I'm not supporting myself? My husband supports me. Will I pass? Tanya's husband looks after it. You mentioned about that you're supporting yourself. How would you answer that?
I would say that would be a way of demonstrating that you were supporting yourself, because that's what you would say to the lender. Okay, so you would say, look, you'll notice that my earnings maybe aren't there. This is how it works in our household. And because these are commercial lenders, if you describe to them exactly what's happening, and it is what's happening, and you can show them that's what's happening, they can normally get their head around it. They are looking for you to be able to start this development when they've given you the money and deliver the project. That's what they're looking for you to do. They need to make sure you are capable and the project is possible to deliver in that time period and be sold so they get their money back. That is what they're looking at. So I think if you could explain that, I think that's a good case to put forward to a lender.
Tanya, that's brilliant. And your husband, he's a good sort, looking after you. I tell you what, I might come round, he might look after me as well. Anyone wants looking after, pop round to Tanya's. Her husband will look after you and support you, and you can start your property journey and convince Will and his lenders that you're all okay. Okay, Jonathan said why he was late. He says, sorry, Richie, busy taking the first harvest off the lawn. Really cutting the lawn as opposed to coming here. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Okay, Pascal says, do lenders carry out KYC on international private investors? So do you want to explain KYC, or do you want to just explain anti-money laundering checks and those things? And does it apply to international private investors?
Absolutely. Well, what this chap is referring to here is know your customer, as the high street banks call it. And absolutely they do, okay? And when it's an international investor, there are actually heightened things that the lenders will do, and their AML or anti-money laundering checks will be thorough, So yes, they will want to know the source of funds. They want to know who these individuals are. Okay, so it will have to be solicitor certified ID, passport, solicitor certified address, and they'll probably run some electronic checks on them as well, just to make sure those add up. And they will want to trace the money and where it's coming from. Now, what you've got to watch out for with international investors is that they're not from countries where there are sanctions involved, as in, so there are various countries which lenders will be unkeen on the money originating from, so which I'm not going to go into now because it's quite detailed, but watch out for that. Okay, check that out early. Maybe check that with a few lenders first.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, that's interesting. I like that. Tanya put in there about her husband. She said he can only afford me. Tanya's obviously high maintenance. And Ella, she just joined the show and she says, happy 50th episode of Open Door. Thank you, Ella. Very kind of you to say so. Thank you very much. I hope you like the background. Okay, next question. Next question. Okay. This is similar to what we've had before, but there's sort of two parts to this because it's come in twice. What information would I need to submit to get an offer of funding? I think we've talked about that, but the follow on here, can you tell me what the process is from the initial offer to getting the money? So maybe we'll answer that one. So basically we've had the offer of funding, so we've had a decision in principle, and then how do I get the cash? What's that process?
Okay, right. Yes, so let's run through that. So if you've got an agreement in principle, it means that you have given some information to the lender. It means they probably had the appraisal, an asset and liability statement, your CV, and they know who your team are. Okay, they're broadly okay with the project, but they haven't credit checked you, and you haven't applied. Okay, that's where you're at. So at that point in time, if you wanted to proceed with that, you would do an application and get credit checked, where they would just be a bit more thorough with their checks, and they would get to whether they are okay with lending you that money, okay, to the next level. Before you get your offer, they would need to do a valuation on the property, which will be at your cost, and it will be an upfront cost, okay? So it's money you have to have on hand, okay? If the valuation comes back and they're happy with that, they will do, or they can do it at the same time, but it's up to you. They'll also send out a QS, a quantity surveyor, or a monitoring surveyor, one of the two. Their job is just to appraise the build. They're looking at just the build numbers. They are absolutely analysing the build to the nth degree, making sure that it's all going to work. If you get back a positive valuation and a positive QS report / monitoring surveyor report, the lender will be in a position to give you an offer at that point in time, to say, look, we're happy with that, our checks have come back. Then what it is it's then just subject to the legal process. So it then hands over to the solicitors if you're happy to proceed, and the solicitors run through and they do all of their normal checks and all of their normal due diligence. The key at that point is when you go actually to solicitors, when you actually say, right, happy to proceed with this offer, go to the solicitors, you will be asked by your solicitor to put some money on account. This is an important step, and it does actually waste a bit of time, and it holds things up by quite a number of days. We find is that the lender's solicitor will contact yours at that point to say, these are all the things we need in order to complete this loan. But before we do any work, we want you to just undertake that you will pay our fees, even if the deal doesn't go ahead. Okay, and so before your solicitor can do that, they will likely want you to give them the money, so they have it on account. So that's what I would say, actually, just while we're there. In a nutshell, that's it, Richie.
Good, George. Hopefully that has answered that question for you. Okay, next question. This is around the anti-money laundering rules. It says, if your investor loans you the money and deposits it in your bank account, when you go for development finance, will this be viewed as your own money or investor's money who needs to have the checks done on them? Well, that should be a fairly straightforward one. Go for it.
Excellent choice. No, that's a good question, because what they'll do is they will view it as not your money. They will trace it back. So they will ask for bank statements. They'll ask for a fairly significant amount of time, and they'll see that the money came in, and then they'll ask where that money came from, and it goes from there until they find out where it comes from. So they're quite hot on the anti-money laundering these days. Yes,
be absolutely careful. I had now a lot of people won't know out there that we've a number of our students on, but a lot of new people on. By the way, give us a wave if you're completely new to the show, your first time on the show. there's a few people. Good. Well, welcome. Hopefully you'll be back again. We had, and most people will know that, you can't just buy a training program off of us. If you want to come on a full 6-month training program, you need to talk to one of our team, and we need to make sure that you're up for it. We had a student one, and we do turn quite a few people away. We had a student once, Will, who I basically said, no, it's not the right time for you. You just don't have enough time to do this. The question we always ask, have you got time to actually go on to this training program and actually do development? And he had a full-time job, lovely guy. I think he will do it one day, but he had a full-time job with no real flexibility. But one of the things he said to me, Will, he said, oh, it's okay, he said, but I've got all the money that I need to do development. I said, oh, have you? So how much have you got? He said, oh, as much as I want, several million if I need it. And this guy's in his early 20s. And I said to him, so what, did you get that off a Russian investor who met you at Waterloo Station? And he went, how do you know? Do you know them? But it wasn't Waterloo, but it was one of the London stations. He'd gone and met an intermediary who was having some Russian money that was going to come into this country. And I just said, no, don't need to do that. He went, oh, he said he'd get all the cash as much as I want. No. I said, how did he find you? He said, oh, he looked me up on Facebook.
That's an intriguing one, that one, yeah.
Okay, next question. Jamie says, hello, Jamie. Good evening to you, my friend. Jamie says, hi, Will. Is it possible to use the equity of existing assets to fund the 30% deposit in a second charge basis? Thanks.
Yes, I think the answer is yes, it is possible to do that. And this depends, it's lender to lender in terms of how they work. So some lenders will not allow this. Some lenders will, okay, they will actually consider this, but they will charge more than they would do on the actual development loan for those second charges. And other lenders, which is the ones you want to go for, they just allow you to increase your leverage on your development loan by utilizing second charges. What I would say is, bear in mind that probably most lenders are limited to 65, maybe 70%, including your first charge. Okay, so if you've got 50% LTV, let's just say, on a couple of rental properties you have, you'll be able to borrow potentially 25 to 30% of that property amount. Okay, that will go towards it. So bear that in mind. The other thing to do is you will need to contact the first charge mortgages that are held on those particular assets that you're thinking about using. You will need consent from them to get a second charge on that property. Okay, so you may as well ask that now. Ask them if it's possible. They'll ask you what you're doing, and you can say that this is the reason for it. And you need a letter from them saying you need that consent. It can take 2 or 3 weeks. So if you wait until the time, it can be a bit of delay, and of course upsetting as well if they don't allow it. So ask first.
Okay, Jamie, hopefully that answers that question. Here's a good question here from Colin, and he started off well. So when we try and pick out the questions out of the long list that's coming in, guys, we're never going to get through them all, as you know. But Colin says, excellent answers tonight, Will. So the fact that he's bigged you up already, he knows he's going to get his question answered. So he says, what would happen if my project overrun and I needed more funding and the funder doesn't want to lend anymore? What do I need to do?
Right. Okay. Well, okay. So let's just assume then, okay, that I'm assuming though that you've overrun and you didn't realise you were going to, because what normally happens is, if you're going through the build process, and you'll certainly have a contractor, you may have a property manager, a project manager too, and you'll most likely, if you're doing a development and you have finance on board, you will have the lender's monitoring surveyor coming out every month and monitoring the build. So you will know fairly quickly if it is running behind schedule. So let's just say if the build is overrunning, what you would normally do is have a conversation much earlier on to say to the lender, look, I am overrunning by 2 to 3 or whatever it might be months. The program is now pushed out. My object is to sell these properties once they're done. I'm only going to have 2 months left at the end of this project to sell them. I need more time now. Okay, and that would be a much better time to have that conversation. Okay, because a lender will be more amenable at that early stage, particularly when they're halfway through the build, because they really want to make sure this build is finished and they want to make sure that you have enough time. So they will want to give you in reason, in sort of within reason what you need. Okay, so I'd say the first thing is have those conversations early. If you're right near the end of a project and you need more time, look, that is a harder conversation, because let's face it, it is at their discretion in reality, okay, as to whether they extend the loan or not. Most lenders do extend it, but they'll probably charge you a fee of some kind of extension fee, which may be higher than if you'd asked earlier. That's what I would say.
I think really the thing there, Colin, is talk to your broker. If Will was your broker, just get that early conversation in with them, because you should know that things are going adrift. If you're running developments properly, you've got a good project manager working with you, you're educated properly to do this, then you should get those early warning signs and start having that discussion, because no one likes surprises, because it looks like you've mismanaged. So why do they want to throw more money in the pot to a mismanaged project? They're going to penalise you for it. But if you can get the real heads up early, talk to your broker if it was someone like Will, and they'll better steer you through that.
I think that's a great point. What I also would say is, if you can, always leave extra time. Always leave, take a longer term than you actually need, or so, because you may as well be relaxed, in control, have some time on your hands, because you won't pay interest on the extra months if you do not use them. That's what I would say.
Yeah, often get that built in the early stages, get a bit more time than what you need.
Yeah.
Here's a good question. Now, I like these questions. So Adam says, what are your thoughts, Will, on where the market is going, and when do you think recovery will be, and how should I estimate my GDVs now? There you go. What's going on in the market?
Cool. Blimey. This is personal opinion time. So, look, firstly, I would argue that no one knows, but my opinion is that I don't believe there'll be this runoff of values. I mean, everyone's sort of thinking, will the values go down and start to, I'm not sure I'm understanding that will be the case. I would more see that things slow down, and maybe the heat of the market is taken out. Things plateau for a little while, and we just allow everyone's normal earnings and wages and everything else to become such a larger, it's not such a small proportion of average house prices, okay? Because that's the thing that's out of whack at the moment. So I think I would say it's definitely fair to say that the market is very overheated at the moment. It is making it more challenging than ever for a developer to find a project and buy it for the right price. And you should never be tempted to pay over the odds to get something in the bag, because there is always something else around the corner. And be sure, if you buy that, you're putting yourself under risk, and then what will happen is 2 weeks later, something perfect will come along, okay? So don't be tempted. There are people who may be paying a bit more than they should at the moment. And the question about GDV is a very good one. Do not bank on GDVs going up. Do not bank on, property prices going up. It has to work on today's money. So only go by today's prices, today's comparables. Ideally, only sold prices in the local area. That would be the holy grail. If you can get them to work on sold prices in the local area that are registered already on land registry, and your GDV matches up with that, and you can then pay the price for that particular development, which makes you the money you want to, then you are looking at a good deal.
Excellent, very good. Hopefully that has answered that question. Adam, we'll do this one a bit later, but Adair says, what are your contact details, Will? So Adair will give those out a little bit later. Harjinder says, can I get 100% funding for my deals? If so, what would the criteria be to get it?
Okay, what I would say is 100% funding is possible, okay, but it is normally reserved for people who have done a few projects first, so they have some experience under their belt. If a lender is taking that kind of gutsy position, they have all the risk, and so they will want to see that you are experienced in the kind of project you are actually about to undertake. So it depends on your experience, I would say, on this particular point.
That was it. I was expecting you to go on then. That was it. Boom. Depends on your experience. Agenda, it's possible, depends on your experience. And I guess it's got to be an absolutely cracking deal. The deal's got to be really, really good to go ahead.
That very, very focused on the deal. In fact, 100% funders, they have very strict criteria. They often like things, for example, something like a certain number of properties maybe all starter homes, maybe a certain everything under 500,000 that's to sell, very, very, very liquid assets, and they might want you to make a minimum of something like 25% of GDV. So it's very, very tight on the numbers.
Okay, possible to do, but you've got to get a good deal and you've got to be good yourself. Okay, another opinion time. Will, another opinion time. Another look into your crystal ball. Where do you see the best opportunities for new developers over the next year? Asks Sadie.
Right. I'm going to answer this question by saying I'm going to tell you the trends that I see our clients going for. Okay. And the overwhelming trend at the moment is definitely in conversion projects and refurbishment projects. Okay. And these are, it might be office to resi, but that is a bit classic, and they're not as common these days, only because they're done to death. Okay. But they are your class G and your class M, etc., and they are the shops with the flats above. And we are seeing houses split into flats. We are seeing retail units for the flat above being converted and having side extensions so that you can fit a couple of flats up, a couple of flats down. These are the kind of things we're seeing more and more. Okay, we do have some new build. Okay, of course we have new build. There's always new build coming through, but it is, it's definitely more weighted towards conversion projects, and lenders have responded. Lender products are very good in the refurbishment space. Okay, they are high LTV, they are quite sophisticated products, they're decent prices, and they are very popular. They're very busy. So that's where I would say.
There we go, Sadie. There is Will's opinion on what's going to happen in the market. Right, let's see if we can get one last question in from Debs. And Debs says, evening, Richie and Will. Wanted to jump on late, I know. So she's obviously preempted the fact that she was late, but we can let her off because her question, she says, can you ask Will if he has lenders who consider commercial lending for supported housing? I guess she wants to have an end product of supported housing.
So when we're talking about this, I imagine that Debs is saying, Will, it's once she's got this project and she's refurbed it and got it to a certain point, is there a term lender at the end that will take it onto a term project with that kind of tenant involved? And I would say the answer is yes. There are some lenders that will look at this. We've had discussions around this with lenders, and it's about understanding who the tenant will be, if it's a housing association, if it's assisted living, who will be taking over that? Are they a reputable company? Have you got them lined up at the beginning of the project? Okay, so I mean, if you're talking about the development side of things, when you're at the beginning and you're actually developing this project, you might want to say to the developer, this is what we're intending to do. This is who's going to lease it. This is what we've agreed already. Those kind of things add a huge weight to your exit from that particular finance. And I guess early discussions with a term product lender is what I would advise there. I know that is done. I know there are lenders out there that will assist with that, but you just have to have those discussions early just to make sure they're happy with what the product is, the area, and what kind of company will be taking on the lease of that particular property.
Okay, Debs, there you go. I think we've run out of time. I do apologise. I know there's lots of questions, but we'll have to get Will back again. He's been back a few times. Will you come back again? I'm sure. Hopefully that's going to be.
Yeah.
We can't be always. We can't have you on every show. It's just.
Yeah, the people get so bored of me. I'll be chucked out like Ian if I come on every show.
Will, have you got some contact details you'd like to give out for people? We will put them in the show notes, but something you can give out now for people to jot down.
Absolutely. Best way to contact me is my email. Okay, and that is Will, WILL, at Luc Capital, which is spelled LUCCAPITAL.co.uk. Okay, drop me a line. I'm always happy to help. I'd love to hear from you. My number as well is 07886 279 773. Wow,
there's his mobile. Ring him up in a minute, guys. See if he answers.
You might not catch me tonight, but you definitely will another time.
Look, guys, I do know that Will, it goes out of his way to help people. So if you are interested, be serious though. Don't just waste his time. He's a busy man. But if you're serious about development and you want to get a good broker on side, I can highly recommend having a phone call with Will and seeing how you get on. Will, thanks for coming on the show. We'll put all your details in the show notes, and we will definitely get you back at another time. Go and enjoy the rest of the reading. Will, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you very much indeed.
Cheers now. Wow, that was good, wasn't it? Will Lucey. Who liked Will Lucey? Give me a hands up if you enjoyed Will Lucey's show this evening. Did you enjoy that? People are saying thank you for Will. Yes, lots of hands up. Lots of hands up. He's good, wasn't he? He's always good value as Will. He always gives lots of great answers. And I love the fact that he caveats it all at the beginning. I think that's really, really good. Okay, guys, that is the end of the show. Thank you very much. Those that joined us late, I don't know, they're probably all gone, but I did offer some fantastic prizes because it's our 50th show. Well, not prizes. So basically, if you email in to support@propertyceo.co.uk and write, come on, what did I say? Claim my free mug or something. And if you're one of the first 10, and I don't know, you might have all emailed in, maybe they've all gone. But if not, why not try it? And if you're one of the first 10, we'll send you a free mug, brand new one, nice and clean, in the box, just to celebrate our 50th show. And of course, a few of you that joined late are probably wondering where Ian is. Junior's not here this week. It's just a show about me. And we had a little vote earlier. Most people preferred it that way. So I don't know whether I'll let him back next week or not. We shall see. Next week's show is on the 3rd of June at 7 o'clock. Okay, if I let him back, it would be Ian and myself giving the news updates and answering your questions. So we look forward to that. Please pop in the chat box if you like tonight's show. It's always useful to hear those comments in there because otherwise we wouldn't bother doing it, you know. So a few nice comments in there would be really useful. So thank you very much for listening. Let's see what we've got in the chat box. So have a look. Jamie says, there's two Jamies on actually. Thoroughly enjoyed your evening. Thank you very much. Thank you for Will Hudgin. It says great questions, great answers. Loved it. Very informative, says Teresa. Richie, you did well with another great show. Raj, yeah, I did well. Do you notice that? I did well, says Raj. I love it. Jonathan says mine is now a faded pink. Jonathan's already got a mug as a faded pink. Well, Jonathan, if you're one of the first 10, you hadn't turned up that, you might have got a brand new one, but clearly not. Another great show, says Rory Atkins, says great answers. Thank Richie and Will. It was absolutely fantastic. Tanya says, I need a mug. I am your #1 fan. I might be your #1 fan as well, Tanya, but you've got to write in. You've got to write in, be one of the first 10, and you could have got it. Great content, Will. He's already gone. I don't know why you're talking to him. Able approach another finance with, what's that? I don't know what that is. Anyway, Yoko says, really fantastic. Huge respect to you and Ian in brackets. Look forward to the next one, Richie. Yeah, look forward to seeing you all next week. Same time, same place. Good night. Good weekend. Bye-bye.